A sustentabilidade no centro da narrativa de um destino na moda. Uma conversa moderada por Patrícia Araújo, a que se juntam Barry Rogers, Stephan Morais e Filipa Maria Cardoso.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. I would like to start with a warm thank you to Nest for the invitation, and please, I don't know where Roberto, please continue to unsettle us in such a positive way like this one. I would invite everyone to take a look at the professional path of these three guests we have here, because for sure I would need the 45 minutes of the panel to present their paths, so it's better if you can do it on your own. So we move to the content of the panel itself, and I would begin with a question. Are we doing enough already to transform in-depth tourism, or are we stuck in a bright and happy greenwashing and good intentions? So where we stand, sustainability is a strategic necessity, but sustainable practices are and often amplify the even negative impacts of tourism. Also, technology can manage overcrowding and even bring more digital visitors. But is there a risk of creating a big brother and a negative effect compromising privacy and authenticity? And last but not the least, my field of work, and despite of claiming to value sustainability, consumers still behave as they still value much more the price, and so greenwashing keeps rising, and with a wide range of sustainability certifications in the middle. So for Barry, I would start asking and focusing on the first point that our Secretary of State also pointed this morning. Why are still destinations not treating sustainability as an opportunity, but many of them still see sustainability as an obligation? So is it both, or is it really an opportunity that destinations should catch?
Thank you so much for an amazing question. And I'd just like to apologize to everyone, including the panel, because for everyone here, this is happening in English, not for the benefit of you, but only for the benefit of me. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I promise next time I come, my Portuguese will be much better. So just to say, on behalf of Dublin, I represent the city of Dublin, and Dublin has had this very complicated journey with sustainability over the past 5 years. We have gone from maybe being a city which had absolutely zero reputation for destination management or sustainability to being last year the 2024 European Capital of Smart Tourism, which everyone here will be aware is a huge pillar of that is sustainability. And one thing we've been good at in Dublin is trying to get on top of sustainability very quickly, particularly in regards to living up to sustainability goals, decarbonisation, signing things like the declaration, the Glasgow Declaration, and then going down the road of what you mentioned, which is third-party sustainability accreditation. And now I'm finding myself in this kind of like identity crisis that you mentioned, which is, am I perpetuating this kind of, you put it so beautifully, this kind of slow greenwashing, right? And I don't know the answer, and I don't know if we're going to find it out when we're on this panel, but I very much find myself in a place of doing all the right things that I'm told to do, following best practice, emulating incredible destinations across the world. But when you're faced with the reality that exponential growth is happening and will happen over the next 15 years, we've seen today in presentations, it's very difficult to rationalize how we will move forward in a meaningful, sustainable way whilst entertaining exponential economic growth, right?
Yeah,
So-
to balance, yeah.
Yeah, so if you would have met me last year, I would have said, we're killing it, we're doing great, you know, we're hitting all the right markers, we're doing all the right things, and now I find myself, and as a destination leader, just very much kind of in awe of the macroeconomics of it all. And so we're still staying the course in Dublin, and very much kind of delivering on our sustainability goals and our agenda, but in the shadow of this kind of reality that it's going to keep going. And I think to finish up, when we were coming out of COVID, there might have been this assumption that tourism growth was kind of plateauing. You know, it was like 2019 was great, we could probably do with some more years of 2019, and then the reality sunk in that it was not just about rebounding, it was going to be an explosion. And so I hope I speak for destination managers out there who are trying to deal with this reality at the moment.
Yeah, we will come back to the good practices that you have been developing, but now I will move to Stephan Morais. He is the CEO or manager in Indico Capital Ventures. And one question that I propose a more reflection about is behind. So we are all talking about technology and this shift that we need and that we need to accelerate. But behind tech and sustainability investments, we need to have talent. There is talent. So I'm curious, what do you seek when you follow these kind of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship? Which kind of skills, competencies do you try to find in these entrepreneurs?
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm certainly no expert in tourism, and it's a pleasure to be here and see so many people in such a great institution. This is a very broad question. It's broader than tourism and sustainability.
Itself, yeah.
But it is true that we live in kind of a golden age of entrepreneurship, and also where the focus is very much on sustainability, and where, as Barry said, people want to live experiences. And I think that after being closed on purpose and without choice for a couple of years, people just wanted to sort of see the world and live what they didn't live for the previous 20 years or more. And so when you bring all this together, you end up having, of course, people want to be more free. They want to create their own companies many times, although thank God not everybody wants to create their own companies, otherwise there would be no big companies, everybody would be an entrepreneur. But the truth is that the people that come up with these ideas have certain, beyond the sustainability, which we'll come to that, we see some common themes. There's a lot of initiative. These are people with a lot of initiative, and we want to see that. We want to see leaders that not only have good ideas, but that can drag others, that can inspire others to follow them. And we also see the good ones, at least, people which are good listeners, very methodical, and get it done. Because the truth is, anybody can have a good idea, but actually very few people can actually make it happen. And quite frankly, the most successful cases are not necessarily the better ideas, but the people that actually made something happen, and normally something that people want, and that people use, and that people or companies are willing to pay for. So you want people with that intense passion for something, wanting to solve a problem. They have an idea, they know how to do it, they inspire others to bring them on board, they bring on board money and investors, and then all together they get it done over a few years. And part of this is increasingly in the sustainability field and in the experience field. I think if you look at even gaming nowadays, why do people do gaming? It's not only the adrenaline and all the rush, the rush that you get from winning and the gamification. It's also because of the experience. In a way, it's like tourism, right? Yeah. Gaming is a new type of tourism. And so when you're looking at tourism and innovation and sustainability, we definitely need to be prepared for the new type of consumer, be prepared for the new type of experience that people expect when they are doing something that is occupying their time. And we can go, and we'll speak about that later, I think, from very tech heavy, but it cannot be obvious that there's technology behind it, to no tech at all, a real rough and off the beaten path type of experience, and there's room for everything. But in general, entrepreneurs, these are these forceful creatures that make things happen.
Great, yeah. Thank you, Stephan. Filipa, she's the director of international communication and digital marketing at Visit Portugal. Sustainability, I think it's also a challenge for the ones that are in front of communication and digital marketing, also because of this that we already talked, the line between greenwashing and being more truly to consumers. Sustainability is more than just strategic plans and actions and metrics and indicators. It's also that, but has another bright side, meaning that we also talk about emotion, and we need to make everyone feel this emotion. So a tourist campaign can be drawn with this narrative, this central narrative of sustainability. Is it possible?
I believe that more than a campaign, you can have an idea, and I think that's the powerful thing. We've done a ton of work on sustainability since the strategy ET27. We've been focusing hard on that, but beyond making it work like internally, so we do recycling, basic stuff. We do recycling, we do no paper, we do the basic stuff is okay. We also translate that into even event support. So if you want to do an event and you want budget from Visit Portugal, you will have to guarantee that it's sustainable, that it has digital practices that make you more sustainable. So that's the baseline, the hygiene. And then you have to work with the consumer. And that is the best part of it, because you can do very different things and target very different people in very different ways. For example, just in Visit Portugal's headquarters, in front of it, we have a huge oceans wall, which we helped build and recuperate, which is a hospital. So the wall was basically destroyed. So we recuperated the wall, and we did a wall art based on the species, the endemic species from Portugal's ocean. Some we eat, some we don't. And it was made to explain and to talk to people about Portugal's coast based on these species and their importance for us as a whole. Portugal has over 70% of Portugal's territory is actually ocean. So we're mostly ocean. So there's a big responsibility for us. So the ocean has been, for us, a very good active to talk about sustainability. We also have been working with WSL, the Worlds of League and Mel, on the Unwanted Shapes project, which aims to shift the surfing community from, surfboards have a lot of not very good things in them. But the surfing community is very into sustainability. So we want to shift the surfboards into 100% sustainable surfboards. So to do that, you have to talk to surfers, pro surfers, have them surf the waves with sustainable boards. We are now at the point where we are trying to get startups to start to build the boards, because we have proven in blind testing that a sustainable surfboard is the same as a normal surfboard. So there's no, in terms of efficacy in surfing, there's no issue. So we are trying to affect not only people in terms of campaign, but also the ecosystem as a whole, and to change the perception, but also physically be active in the environment. I think put your money where your mouth is. Just do it. Small, but do it.
Yeah, and with impact.
Yes.
Yeah. So Barry, let's return to Dublin again. Which were the main actions and programs that you have been developing these last few years, and mainly which were the biggest challenges from which you've learned most?
I'm a traditional tour. I was always a traditional tourism career person. So I did my degree in tourism, and I went and worked in the big tourism marketing agency, and now I work for a DMO. And coming out of COVID, we had to go, particularly in regards to the European Capital of Smart Tourism competition, which if anyone isn't aware of it, I would highly encourage you all to look it up. It's this incredible, it's run by the European Commission, it's a model for sustainable tourism, and it's kind of like the Oscars of tourism management. We were going for this bid, and what we found was the process of going and presenting your city in front of the European Commission panel of judges was the ultimate humbling experience in kind of destination management, because they're seeing the best of the best, and then you come into them with your marketing hat on and say, I'm amazing, look at me, we're Dublin, we're fantastic, and then they say very politely, you need to do better on sustainability, accessibility, yeah, your digital product's good, but you need to be better. And then you go back to your city, your destination, and say, we have to do better because the European Commission is telling us we're not good enough. And we were quite isolated for so long, and in this echo chamber of success, telling ourselves we are really, really good, right? And it took that experience of going to the European capital, going to Brussels, to look at what we had been doing and change everything. So to answer your question, I had to completely relearn everything I knew about tourism like a couple of years ago. And what we did, which was slightly different and now is kind of more popular, is there's this kind of tourism triangle that you learn when you're in college, which is, you look for the tourists with the highest relationship return on investment. So you look for international visitors, then domestic visitors, and then after that, if you're not too busy, you'll prioritize locals, right? So what we did was we just flipped that model upside down. So we acted in a way as a city that anything we were doing in tourism, we did for the local, then domestic, then international. And people freaked out. Like, this is, if you're a tourism practitioner, this is crazy. And we changed our model towards, if we're building a museum, for example, we build it with the local in mind first, then domestic, then international, on and on and on. And this kind of community-centric, human-centric approach really resonated with the kind of the audience we were looking at. And now that this kind of approach is much more popular. But that was an extremely difficult process to go through.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. How hard was it to catch the community and bring it to the process?
Like the community wants to be involved in tourism. It's one thing we found. We did a survey of 1,000 Dubliners, and one thing we found is that they were more knowledgeable about tourism product than we were. So we got back recommendations and things that we never knew about. They could understand the socio-economic impact of tourism in their city more than we could. So the thing we always think about, I think when we think about stakeholders in tourism, we automatically think about subject matter experts like hoteliers, hospitality managers. We don't technically think of communities as part of that system. When you talk to them, they will give you excellent advice. And so we were, for the last couple of years, have been in the process of listening to that advice, implementing it into our tourism strategy and putting it back into our work. And then practically we did a number of things like, signed up to the Glasgow Declaration, undertook GSTC certification processes, did climate action audits, carbon analysis, all these things that you do as a benchmark destination. But the big shift was changing our mindset from being a kind of exponential growth marketing point of view to being why are we doing tourism in the first place? It's because people live in our cities and we would like them to continue to be able to live in our cities and be prosperous. And so that was the crucible of kind of where we started. Yeah, and that was the hardest thing, to shift my mind frame from international ROI, high value, to local, community and resident centric.
Yeah, so 2 lessons that we also heard this morning, like first sit with ones that are next to you and that are not that obvious, and second, ask yourself those questions: how, what, and why, or what for. So thank you, Barry. Stephan, when we talk about technologies, not only these emerging ones, but the ones we already know, AI, virtual reality, and so on, they truly have you came up with any conclusion from these last years?
Well, I mean, I think technology clearly is going to have a huge impact again on tourism in every area, as we saw in the previous presentation. You know, I think that tourists, they also don't want to be overwhelmed with technology, because we all go somewhere to experience the place as authentically as possible. You don't want to go there and pretend that you're inside Instagram or TikTok, right? So I think technology can help kind of more on the background, not so much on the app with the virtual reality experience. You know, those kind of things I don't think resonate that much with people. But if you, for example, if you are behind an agency, you know, the collection of data is very important. So how do you do it? When do you do it, so that you can actually infer what people are expecting and try to prepare your community and, you know, your region to host these visitors. And so I think a whole set of tools will emerge, and methodologies to actually harness the power of data and understand what does it mean, so that we can improve the experience, not necessarily improve the technology, because I don't think tourists enjoy being, you know, full of technology when they're trying to understand really what's Lisbon all about. They're not going to be on their mower. They shouldn't, right? So I think we cannot confuse both things. So the one thing is the background, the data, the AI that can help guide political decisions and policy decisions towards tourism and sustainability. The other thing is the interface. Because if you do not design, if you have an interface in terms of both sustainability and tourism, or both things, that is greenwashing or overimposing, that's not cool. And so it's really hard to get good interface, good design in any industry, and I think tourism and sustainability, because of greenwashing, is particularly difficult. Now, I don't think that the fact that you have technology needs to drive away people either, or form some sort of distance between the ones that have access to technology or not, precisely because if you do it correctly, everybody will be impacted more or less in the same way. And in fact, technology, and AI in particular, helps with personalized experiences. So, you know, if you have enough data, and if you can structure it, and if you have enough personalized data, even if you comply with GDPR and there's no ethical or no issues with data, personal data, you can still provide a much better personal experience to every visitor. I mean, there's technologies now that even when you look at a screen, there's a company in the US now, when you look at a screen, I see one thing and the other person next to me sees something totally different. It's the same screen, it's, you know, two people next to each other. And so there's a lot of things that are happening which can really make tourism way more personal. On the sustainability side, the risk is, I think we have reached a point where there is already some distrust on the whole topic. I mean, I think that we cannot treat sustainability as, you know, let's check the boxes and make sure it's kind of a compliance that we all need to be virtually and very, you know, with a lot of virtue, very green. I think that has lost credibility. I think, you know what, I remember when I went, for example, to one of the last times I went to Indonesia, these sort of paradise islands, and then you go there and the beaches, and actually inside the little village that only 100 people live, it's full of plastic on the floor, because the community themselves have never been sort of taught, or there was no sharing of information that you shouldn't do that to your own little island. So I think it's way more than having billboards and checklists, whether we use a recycled paper or not. Like you say, that has to be, but it's way more. It's about public policy on making sure that all the environment is treated correctly, without becoming a compliance issue. Because the problem here is that if we turn sustainability into sort of like a compliance issue, that we must fill in forms and take down numbers and metrics, it is the end. People will not do it. People will revolt, and you can already see that in many businesses. And so it's tricky, but I think that technology can help with sustainability, new products, but it has to be done in a very gentle way and very natural, because otherwise on the tourism side you lose the authenticity. Nobody wants to go there anymore.
Thank you. Filipa, let's turn to what Stephan said. So technology, trust, how to involve, how to bring the tourists to this experience, but also bring the tourists to this responsibility. So how can we engage? I know that you already talked about it in the first question, but I would like to go a little bit more. How can we engage tourists and responsible them for sustainable practices, keeping them excited and happy to be here and to share with us their experiences also. So how to balance this, because also they are a part that needs to be more responsible in the footprint that they are leaving.
For us, and very important, I was listening very carefully because we're very aligned, which is good to hear. For us, we always, in our storytelling, I just did one this week, we always say storytelling, stakeholders, and then experience, and then do it. Like, make it happen. So stakeholders, locals, tourists, and us as well, the people that work on the industry, we need to do target communication for all of them. Although I work on the tourists, I need to do stuff for the tourists that when somebody that is local looks at it, they feel respected and they feel like we are treating the destination as it should, and we are respecting the environment, the number of people that needs to be there. We are working towards a better future for everyone. We actually, the first campaign we did that was focused solely on sustainability was Hello World, and the campaign was not for us. The campaign was for everybody else. So the idea was to get all tourism boards, and we actually did some social media things, and Scotland replied. They're very nice to us. We like them very much. They usually interact with us a lot. And it was a challenge because the video was built with images from all around the world. So imagine being a tourism board and do a video that is promotional video, and the idea is, please let us get together and work together on building a better planet, because there's no planet B. We all need to work together on this. And now we have evolved, obviously, and the last one we did last year was the Futurist campaign. And the focus was the tourist. How can you have the best experience of your life and leave the right footprint? It's not no footprint, it's the right one. So we are shifting, even in terms of sustainability is almost, I don't know if you feel that, a dirty word, because it leads immediately in terms of greenwashing. If you use that word, you're greenwashing. So we are trying to figure out ways to tell people, to show them what's real, what's local, what's relevant. And even in the treatment, we are going to launch a campaign, a new one very soon. The treatment in terms of the video, you will see there's a closeness to the action. So it's not like beautiful, huge landscapes. There's always that, but it's usually a lot more closer to you, to the real experience, and we are using real sounds. You're going to hear in the campaign the actual sounds we had while filming. So we're trying to make it almost back to the roots, back to the basics, back to feeling things, and because that's the real tourism experience, is sitting down with somebody at a coffee shop you never thought of speaking with and having a conversation. And for example, I had this on the summer. I met New Yorkers and we went to lunch together. We never met before. They're going to be my neighbors soon, actually. So I think that...
So you are a marketeer, so...
Yes. I was curious about their opinion of Portugal. I was like, let's see. So the idea is technology is very important, but it's not the end. It's a medium. So you have to use it in a meaningful, useful way to get faster results, but never forgetting the humankind, the layer of being a person. I think that's the most important thing. We are building a huge AI project as we speak. It's a big challenge, but we are trying to balance what we do in campaigns and the way we approach people and the messages that need to be very clear and very true to the brand's voice, and then being able to be really fast because our budget is very small. And so we need to be really fast and really smart and use the full potential of what we have in terms of the excitement of AI. And we'll see. We're very excited for this year.
We can tell your eyes are shining. So probably next year on Boost we will know.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah,
It will be done by then.
a little bit more about this tool. Barry, maybe it will be your last question, because I just noticed we only have 9 minutes, so really time flies. Sustainability also means, or should mean, measuring impacts, and maybe shifting some metrics that we always look for results, but we need to look more for impacts. How is this working in Dublin? Was it hard, as it is here in Portugal, to find the KPIs, the right KPIs for this? And how do you look at impact itself?
So first thing I'd like to say is I drifted off there for a minute. I was just in the audience listening to your response, which is just absolutely fantastic, and I love it when destination managers are just so completely in love with what they do. I just, on that point, I do think one thing we need to do is, as managers, is talk to tourists. Full stop. Like the amount of things you learn when you speak to a tourist, and whenever I speak to tourists in Dublin, and I obviously don't tell them who I am, I'm always hoping that the thing that they will most like or talk about is my work, but it's never anything I've ever done. It's always some incidental meeting in a coffee shop, or they fall in love with someone or something like that. So that's just bringing it back to the human element before I talk about KPIs. But in terms of KPIs, the one KPI that we have that we really keep an eye on is how positive our locals are about tourism in the city. So we measure everything in Dublin: air quality. We measure how much spend is spent in the city. We know where people are going, where they've come from. Everything that destination managers measure. The metric we are keeping the most eye on is how happy our locals are in regards to tourism in the city, because it doesn't matter what you're doing in terms of prosperity. If that number is going down, then you are in serious trouble as a destination, for the obvious reasons that your locals will begin to lose the... One thing we have in Ireland, which we're very proud of, is Irish people love hospitality and have an intrinsic knowledge of hospitality. But if you start to lose that, then as a destination, you've really lost the heart of what you do. And that's what we keep an eye on in Dublin every year through residential sentiment. We do everything else as well, and particularly in regards to carbon, we also calculate and keep an eye on carbon as well. But it's about the local, it's about the person who lives in the city, it's about their welfare, and that is the metric that we are that is certainly the metric that we're keeping an eye on at the moment, as well as everything else as well. But I couldn't agree more with the panelists as well. It's technology will get you so far. We're doing wonderful things with OpenAI and Google and MasterCard. my priority is still the person who lives in the city. You know?
Yeah, that's great. Great. Stephan, also the last question. The question for you, maybe some examples that you have experienced and supported these last years of startups that you have supported and that are in this path of making really difference and impact.
Yes, well, we have one of our funds is called the Blue Fund, where we do ocean-related investments. So I think we've done a dozen companies or so in that fund. It's a 50 million fund. None of them is in tourism, and unfortunately, one is related to deeply into the sea because it's a company that basically builds new types of renewable offshore platforms, hopefully friendlier. But we have other companies which have other types of impact, such as Flex Sea that uses seaweed to substitute plastic. Cups made of seaweed that are biodegradable and many other things. We have a company, Membrion, that basically, when we now need lots of batteries, but when you produce all these batteries for Teslas and cars and many other things, that creates heavy waters, really sort of difficult to treat. And so these are technologies, and this company does technologies that basically clean up the water with ceramic filters, and they're expanding globally. Another example in a company here south of the river, Arborea, they use seaweed and sunlight to create protein. And it sounds like magic, right? You use little tubes with seaweed and then out comes protein that can substitute animal protein or fish protein and so on. And so there's many ways, and I'm a big believer that technology will solve the climate crisis. I think that's actually the only way we can solve it. It's certainly not going back to the Middle Ages that we're going to do that. And so I'm very hopeful that this will happen. But I'm also hopeful that, like what Barry said, that on the tourism side, the sustainability is not only about green, it's about how people feel about it. And I think this is such a good example, asking the locals how they're feeling, and then adjusting policy and adjusting intake and infrastructure to make sure that it's balanced, and that everybody feels comfortable, both the people arriving and the people that are already there.
Great. So this magic, you also make it happen, Filipa, like Stephan says. And how hard is to do this magic and transforming sun and beaches and cultural spaces into sustainability messages?
It's not hard. I don't think it's hard. There's much harder things to do. I think working in technology for me is harder. I think if you have the right... Andrew Stanton from Pixar says, give me 2 + 2, not 4. And I think that's the way we work. Don't give me the result, the landscapes, because everybody has beautiful landscapes. If you see it one way or the other, what can you give me? What story are you able to tell that it makes me interested? And how do you segment the story to me specifically? So it's a mix between the creative part, the advertising part, the PR part, and then the platforms and the AI part. We are very happy but tired to have all of that in one department. So we work at the same floor. Everybody's there. The agencies are there. Our partners are there with us. So we actually work with the people that have the specific and technical experience, and we bring the destination experience. So everybody grows together. And I think, again, being a person, being able to tell a great story, which mankind has told again and again and again from the beginning of the ages, I think that's the key. And you can replicate that if you have the right people at the right time with the right environment. Even if you don't have a lot of resources around you, we have done things very simple as creating a booklet that we shared online, where you talked about the Iberian lynx, a specific humpback whale that lives in the Azores, which is very well known. It's a specific one whale, so everybody knows that whale. So we can talk about nature and protecting nature and making it a part of who you are, and not just something on a postcard. Seeing, for example, Expo Osaka Kansai, which will be this year in April, we are working with ICEP on the production of the expo. Our mascot, which we were very proud to do, is going to be a small little animal that is very privy to the problems of sustainability and pollution. I'm forgetting the word, sorry. It's an animal we are recuperating in Rio Formosa. And so we use that to talk about sustainability again in Expo Kansai. So you're always picking up little pieces of information and collecting them and weaving that into a story. And I always said to my team that this should be like a Marvel movie. So when you see one and then you see the other and then you connect it to the other. And so if you have the full experience, sorry guys.
We accept.
You decide where you go.
Yeah, we accept that truth.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Filipa, thank you. Thank you, Stephan. Thank you so much, Barry, for sharing us all these steps, thoughts, and experiences. And I think one big conclusion is that sustainability and technology are moving together with small steps, but consistent steps, and mainly directed to locals, starting with who is close to us, hearing more, working better, doing better, and mainly doing with a purpose and making people more happy. So thank you all for hearing us. I hope we could brought some new ideas and new challenges also to the table. We expect for next year's boosts, hoping that Barry will speak in Portuguese for all of you. Thank you.